Greetings everyone, Prairie here. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going through a demo on how to set up DBeaver for Snowflake. Now, what is DBeaver? DBeaver is a universal database tool to help developers, administrators, or analysts work with a SQL type environment. In this case, our focus is going to be Snowflake. The Snowflake UI is a very capable, intuitive, and sleek UI for writing code. Typically, when you work in Snowflake and the UI environment, you're going to be working with the classic UI, or if you are using the more modern UI called Snowside. But there are a lot of folks who, for one reason or another, have development practices that necessitates them to write code outside of Snowflake and to manage that code, to version control that code outside of Snowflake. So if that's you, DBeaver would be an option to look at. We're going to be going through setting that up here. If you go on the Snowflake ecosystem, DBeaver is listed there on the ecosystem. It's an open source universal SQL client. It's a SQL client that allows you to connect to Snowflake and to execute your queries. If you take a look at this, for SQL development and management, DBeaver also shows up there. We should see DBeaver here. Or to get started with this, whether you're working on Mac or you're working on Windows, you want to go ahead and download DBeaver from the site. I do happen to be working on Mac and I have DBeaver downloaded. Let's go ahead and launch that. There are two versions of DBeaver you can use. There is a Pro version, the enterprise version, and there is a community version. Now, if you're going to be using this for commercial purposes, you probably want to think about the benefits that comes with using the enterprise version. For the sake of my demo, I'm just going to use the free trial community version here just to walk through that setup. So here we're launching DBeaver. And once it comes up, it's going to be a really intuitive client for us to use. There are a couple of things to note. For one, if your screen doesn't look like this, it might look a different color. You might have the white color. And the reason you might have that, you want to go to DBeaver on the top left, go to preferences, go to editor, or go to user interface, go to appearance, and you can change the appearance here. So if you want more bright colors, you can go for that. If you want more on the dark side of things, you can for that. There are people have different preferences, and that's really up to you what you want. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to keep this on the dark side. Let's go ahead and cancel that. Now, to come in to connect to Snowflake, it's really easy to do. So what you're going to want to do is, let's expand this. So what you're going to want to do is go up to the top right side of the screen. For some reason, this doesn't quite show. Let's minimize this. So you want to click on this icon here to create connections. And this will allow you to create a brand new connections. Now I have a couple of connections created, but you can see the popular connections here to create. Snowflake is what we're going to select. Go ahead and click on next for this. And here is where you get to put in all the details to authenticate into your Snowflake environment. For one, if I'm connecting to the Snowflake instance, I'm going to want to copy the name of my Snowflake instance. Otherwise, if you're working on the Snowside UI, you're going to want to copy just this name. And that's what you need. Go ahead and put that name in the connection. And then when the database, warehouse, schema, and username, password, rows to authenticate. Now, once we're done, you can test connection and it should be successful. I happen to have done that before, and I have this connection here where we can go edit connection. And that's pointing to my demo Snowflake account. And these are my credentials. I can test connection and it should tell me that connection is successful. It takes a few seconds and connected. All good. Now, once your connection is done, we can go in and browse the schema that are available. In here, we have the sample data with the TPC and TPCH sample data sets. I do have a demo environment in there, and I can browse to see the tables, the views, and the objects that are available. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this table for now. You got to be careful when deleting stuff, but I know this is my demo environment, views, procedures, and data type. Now, this wouldn't give you functions. If I go back over Snowside, the beauty of working with Snowside and the worksheets here is if I come into the same account, I weigh more things in Snowside than I would with something like DBeaver. Table view, stages, pipes, streams, tasks, functions, procedure. This is quite a little bit more than what you're getting there. But again, if your scenario necessitates you using DBeaver, this is still a good option. Now, here, there are a couple of things that are relevant for DBeaver. If I wanted to interact with environment, what I'm going to have to do, you can do in two ways. You can just right click, SQL editor, create a new script, or open an existing script. Let's go ahead and open a new script. And the new script pops up for us here on the screen. And this is where for the analyst or for the average user, you can get to start writing code. The very first thing we're going to do is let's just check on this Snowflake SQL version. So we're going to select current version for Snowflake. And to execute that, you can select and you can run, execute SQL statement, execute SQL statement in new tab, or execute the entire script, whatever is in that script. Let's just go ahead and execute the SQL statement. It tells us our version here. Now, if you wanted to see that in the command prompt, you can do the same and execute. It's still going to give you the results. This is the version of Snowflake we're working with. Now, if you really wanted to see more with this, what we can do here, and I'm going to bring this up on the screen back, is we can go over here, the sample TPCH queries that Snowflake provides because we're looking at that database. And you can, let's just copy this query and we're going to paste that in here. Again, you can set your context. And once that's set, you can go ahead and the statement. So it does use the driver and this JDBC behind the scenes to interact with Snowflake. So it ran and that fast, right? It's giving us results, some really summarizations. Really, really cool. It's a great option for folks that want to use this. And one of the cases for this is if you want to take this code now and put that into a version control system like Git and manage that outside of the Snowflake ecosystem with something like DBeaver, you can have that option. And if you wanted to come in and take, let's say, weather data, we wanted to grab the weather data, and you can go ahead and view the data within this. Let's view table. There's a lot of things you can do with DBeaver that people already use. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're already familiar with DBeaver. It shows us the table properties. I can see the columns. This is a variant data type. If there are keys, you can see that foreign keys, references for that table. And if you wanted to, you can go into, if the table has data, see a preview of the data within that table. This is a variant table. The data is JSON. Now, beyond just writing SQL with DB, another option that you might think about doing is creating new tables. Or how do you create objects? Here we can come in, create a new table. And this should give us an interface to create that table. Here we can customers. And it's going to give us a DDL here to start writing our customers. If you wanted to go in here, you can now add new columns. Just a GUI type interface to create objects if you want. Now, if you're not a fan of this and you want to import, let's say, CSV that somebody has provided to you, and this could be a common use case, DBeaver gives you that ability. You can come in here, you can do import data. It's going to take you to your local file system. And let's say you want to import the file. And this will take you to the local file system to do quick importation of, let's go here. I know I have some files that are here. And I can go ahead and quickly have this file imported, just like that. Okay, there are many options to import data into Snowflake. One is going through Snowpipe, where you can put that and get it ingested. You can use a client tool. You can do the put command with SnowSQL, or you can use this if this is an option for you. Do commit after this amount of transactions. So do next, and then let's go ahead and proceed, and it should do that import for us. The import was successful. And are you sure you want to revert all the changes to customers? Nope, I don't want to revert because I want to keep that. And that data task was successfully imported. Just like that, you can get data from your local environment loaded into Snowflake, especially for folks that are not heavy on the SQL side and you want a GUI type environment. This could be an option. And here's the data we've loaded, over 200,000 records. And now this is persisted in Snowflake and you can start querying this. The next thing to show here would be the ERD diagrams. There's a lot more things you can do with DBeaver. I'm just, touching the tip of the iceberg. What some people love is this ability to come in and they can create ERD diagrams to show the relationships between your objects. Here I can call this demo hub customer ERD. And we select what schema we want to work with. And we're going to go to sample. And let's pick the TPCDH one and look at the tables. And we want to create the ERD for everything within this. Let's just select a few here. Entity relationship diagram is what we're trying to build. Because relationships are very important sometimes depending on your query, how you're going to query the data. Snowflake doesn't enforce primary keys and such, but still knowing how tables relate to each other could be relevant for different needs of the business or for your analysis. Having a tool, an ERD type tool to do that, to document that, is always a very relevant capability to have. That did import the demo hub customer ERD. It took a while just because for some reason I did import the Snowflake information schema. Essentially, you're getting the ERD for the entire Snowflake information schema and how all the views that are within that schema relate. This might be a little bit complex. Let's go to something simple where I did not bring the information schema. I brought in just the specific customer and sales and orders tables in the TPC DH schema. Here you have region, orders, and I did this not too long ago. You can come in. Let's go ahead and delete one of these relationships. If you are a data architect and you're trying to build your ERD and the relationships, again, these are all Snowflake tables, but you can come in and say, hey, these are the orders tables. If I click on this, you can see there's a relationship between customer key and customer here. We have an order key and it relates to line item. Just click on that and drag, and it's going to create a new relationship there. You can make this a different type of key. You can edit that. There are things that you can do. And then once you're done with that relationship, you just simply do OK. And just like that, you can build a really complex ERD diagram. Now, these keys are not enforced, just to call that out on Snowflake. And typically, you don't want enforcing keys in a data warehouse type environment. If I was doing an application in OLED CPU world where you cannot create orders if the order doesn't have a customer attached to it, something like that, then you want those keys enforced. But for analytics, typically you don't have to worry too much about those constraints because it just makes loading your data warehouse extremely slow. But just a little bit of my opinion there. But yeah, once you have your ERD diagram, now you can document this and you have your tables and your views, but you have diagrams to go with it. As somebody who has been a data architect, enterprise architect in the past, having some of these documentations is always key. And then you can have scripts and folders in here and you can back and save this up to go along with your project. There you have it. Just a quick, simple demo here of DBeaver with Snowflake. It's a very simple tool to use. There is a big user base around DBeaver. I've used this in the past. In future videos, we're going to keep talking about some of this. Agility is something I've used to Owen, and there are different options to consider. DBeaver, and hopefully this quick demo was helpful to you. As always, let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks for watching.